Jays fans have had enough, and following another brutal loss against the Houston Astros, the Jays find themselves free-falling out of the playoff race, and it is getting disastrous for the Blue Jays, and fans have had enough of management, they've had enough of John Schneider, and they've had enough of this team. So we're going to break that down and discuss how, over the next couple of weeks, the Jays are going to have some massive decisions to make that will alter their future for the next few years. So stay tuned to all that. But before we do, we are proud to announce that this video is sponsored by Rentals.ca, who are proud supporters of Team Canada. And while they've been supporting our national team defend their home court heading into the Olympics, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home floor all across the country, from condos, houses, and apartments, whether you are in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, Halifax, Mississauga, Edmonton, Victoria, St. John's. It doesn't matter. From coast to coast, Rentals.ca has tons of options to find the perfect place and price for you. And the best part is their website is clean, it's super easy to use, and you can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to find your apartment, and it gives you all of the options. It is the best place to go, so make sure to check them out and define your home court with Rentals.ca. And thank you to them for sponsoring this video. You can check out their link in the pinned comment in the description as well, and thank you again to them for sponsoring the video. All right, let's dive right into it. We have tons of stuff to discuss today, and the Jays just lost another heartbreaking game. They were never really, it almost feels like the Jays are never in it at this point, but they lose again to the Houston Astros, losing 3 out of 4 and losing the series at home. And this is rough. This is, we always say rock bottom. Right now, it's not really rock bottom because it's been rock bottom for the past 2 months. But the Jays and fans have had enough of this team, and they really have to decide what direction they're going to go over the next couple weeks, because this trade deadline is coming, and it's coming very, very fast. And when you look at the standings for the Toronto Blue Jays, they are free-falling out of a playoff spot. And we're just going to be breaking that all down. So, as we know, a few days ago, multiple reports came out from Bob Nightingale, from multiple reporters, that the Blue Jays plan to place, of course, Kikuchi, Jansen, Jimmy Garcia, Turner, Kevin Kiermaier on the trade block ahead of the deadline, with plans to keep Guerrero and Bichette past the deadline and into the summer. That's not really new news. We knew that. But now that the Jays continue, this was before they even lost 3 out of 4 against an Astros team that was struggling earlier on in the season, now picked it up. But fans have had enough of this team, and this is becoming more and more likely each and every day. And you can see this was dropped by Ben Nicholson-Smith, obviously the Blue Jays writer and reporter today. He said when 2024 started, the Blue Jays had some lofty goals. Now they're a season low 8 games under 500. And just for the record, everybody, they are now a season low 9 games under 500 after today's loss. Obviously, it's tough just thinking about that. And some of the players came out and spoke out about it, but the problem is right now for the Toronto Blue Jays and this team is that there's no path going forward for them to improve significantly. They can't go out and buy at the trade deadline. They can't go out and significantly improve their team because they do not have the prospect capital to do so. And it's ultimately resulting in a season that is, quite frankly, absolutely disastrous for this team. And when you can see this here, stuff is going to go nuclear. You see, being the same breath as these franchises is an embarrassment. Talking about the Angels, the A's, and the White Sox, and fans are fed up. Send everybody in the organization packing besides Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I wouldn't go that far. You have Horwitz, you have a lot of young guys you can build around. But we are in conversation with teams like the Athletics and the Angels, and even with how bad the Jays have been, you're even in a conversation to agree with the White Sox. Obviously, the White Sox are much worse, but it's just not the place you need to be, and it's becoming very concerning at this point. The first thing that needs to happen is obviously changes need to be made. Now, whether that's management, whether that's John Schneider, whether that's the team, the first thing that needs to happen is probably, at least in my opinion at this point, I think Ross Atkins is going to be the first one that needs to go. He was the one who built this team. Yeah, they had some decent runs. He put together a phenomenal team in 2021 with Marcus Semien, Teoscar Hernandez, Bo, and Vladdy, all those guys being all-stars. But now they're at a point where they're not only not competing for a World Series, they're not even competing for a playoff spot. They are 9 games under 500. They're tons of games back of the wild card spot. 8.5 now, or 8 games back. Let me know for sure on the count. I think it's 8 at the time of recording, or 8.5. They have no path going forward, and they have one of the worst prospect systems in baseball, which is why they need to trade these guys. You look at Yusei Kikuchi, you look at Danny Jansen, you look at Garcia, you look at everybody. You can trade those guys and really replenish the farm system. I don't really want to trade Danny Jansen. I want them to extend him. But if you end up trading a bunch of these guys and getting some prospects back, at least you're moving towards the direction of building up your prospect and your farm system so that in a couple years, maybe you extend Vladdy. You probably trade Bo, but if they extend Bo, then you can retool and regroup around that and make some trades for some big fish. Because at this point, the Jays prospect pool doesn't even have enough top prospects to make a trade for a big fish, even if they wanted one. We know a few years ago they almost traded for Jose Ramirez. They refused to give up Nate Pearson and Alejandro Kirk. Now at this point, and Kevin Biggio was included in that as well, I believe. And at this point, they don't have any prospects, so they can't really make a big trade for that. Our best hitting prospect, Aurelvis Martinez, was suspended for PEDs. And you're looking at this now like just a disaster at this point. They're 17 games back of a wild card spot. This is before the loss today. So now they're 17 games back of, the division, not a wild card spot. They're probably 7 or 8 games back of the wild card. Their offense is brutal. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. looks like he's a very, very good player, but the Jays are significantly out. Like, they're not even close to even competing, let alone the division like the goal was going into the season. But they're not even close to competing for a wild card spot at this point. And with the trade deadline less than a month away, around a month away, they're going to have to sell some of these players. And as the trade deadline approaches, as it's less than a month away and weeks are start to approach, the Jays are going to have to start to make some trades. We saw the Tampa Bay Rays trade Aaron Savali for a prospect. And the Rays are better than the Blue Jays right now. They're at 500, and they traded one of their better pitchers in exchange for they traded one of their better pitchers in exchange for a prospect. So at this point, it's like, what do the Jays, what can they do? What will they do? This was the game today, in case you missed it. Horwitz, again, Horwitz is the guy who's going to be and play a huge role in the future. David Schneider had a good game. George Springer looks like a completely new player. The offense is starting to look better, and they're still not getting any wins whatsoever because of how bad the pitching has been, because of how bad the bullpen has been. And huge shout out to Chris Bassett. He gave up 4 runs through 1 1/3 inning and finished the game only giving up 4 runs through 5 innings. So he battled, and he kept the bullpen, which has been an absolute disaster so far this season, out of the game as long as possible. And they obviously gave up a run there, but the bullpen is a problem. The Toronto Blue Jays at this point are in a very, very bad spot. They're in a free fall, and whether they won today's game or not, that wouldn't have really changed anything. They're 9 games back. Ross Atkins needs to go. I wouldn't be surprised if John Schneider is gone at this point. I don't know if he's lost the room. I don't know if it's just a lack of talent. I don't know if the bullpen is just terrible. I mean, we know the bullpen is terrible. We got more news that Jordan Romano is going to be out for a very long time. We'll probably cover that more in a future video, but he's going to be out for a while. We have a bunch of different guys. Like, injuries have been plaguing the bullpen significantly, but at this point, and Bo Bichette was scratched again today because of an injury. So Leo Jimenez got his major league debut, and shout out to him for getting on base. But like, it's at the point now where the Blue Jays have to make decisions, and we've been talking about this. We've been talking about this for weeks. They are going to trade most likely Yusei Kikuchi. They're going to trade Jimmy Garcia. They're probably going to trade Justin Turner, unless they go on some miraculous run over the next couple of weeks where they just win 10, 11, 12 in a row, similar to how the Houston Astros did to get back to where they were. Because at one point, the Houston Astros were 9 games below 500, and now they're 4 games or 3 games above 500. So the change is possible. I just don't think the Blue Jays have it in them to do so. And Yusei Kikuchi came out and spoke out about that, basically saying that it's tough thinking about this. It's tough thinking about the fact that I'm probably going to get traded. We know Bo Bichette said a while ago, would you be surprised if you got traded at the deadline? The answer is no. There's a lot of different things that go into this, and ultimately the Jays are in a spot where they can't afford to keep losing. They keep losing, and Ross Atkins is probably going to get fired, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes very, very soon, because the longer they wait, the more dragged out and lengthy this process is going to get, and I don't think Ross Atkins necessarily wants that, even though his job is on the line. Maybe John Schneider will be the first one to go, but let us know in the comment section down below. Who do you want to see first? Who do you want to see gone first? John Schneider, Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro? Do you want to see them ride out with this front office, ride out with this coaching staff, and just move some of the players like we've seen on the screen now? Let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.